Dolly Parton's story is one of resilience, ambition, and unparalleled talent. Born in a one-room cabin with nothing but a voice and a dream, she climbed from poverty to global stardom. She broke into country music on her own terms, fought for everything she got, and built a legacy that's bigger than music. You might think you know Dolly's story, but in this video you'll learn about the unlikely place she met her husband and how turning down Elvis made her millions and much more. But first, we need to start in Pittman Center, Tennessee. Dolly Rebecca Parton's story starts on January 19, 1946 in the Smoky Mountains. She was the fourth of 12 children raised in a one-room cabin. Her father was an illiterate sharecropper. Her mother sewed their clothes out of rags. It was a simple life that Dolly often joked about.
We didn't have much. We had, most people, as you know, have, 3 rooms and a bath.
Right.
We had 4 rooms and a bath. You don't have, like water in the house, and we always made jokes like we had running water when we'd run and get it.
With so many mouths to feed, Dolly and her older sisters were expected to help raise the younger children. That love was tested early when a baby brother she cared for died in infancy. It was a heartbreak that stayed with her for life. Dolly found relief in family and faith. She began singing in church at just 6.
That I'm grounded in the spirit as well. I grew up in the church, and my grandpa was a preacher. I also got a lot of confidence from that, believing that God loved me no matter what.
By 8, she had a guitar in her hands. By 10, she was on local radio. At 13, she released her first single and debuted at the Grand Ole Opry, where Johnny Cash encouraged her to follow her dreams. She took that advice seriously. The day after high school graduation, Dolly left for Nashville with a suitcase and a stack of songs. She quickly landed a publishing deal, writing hits for others, but her first solo recordings flopped. They were pop songs, not the country music that lived in her bones.
I think I'm far too country for my country music to fade into the past, but this past year I've been trying to do some things that could be accepted in other fields of music, but I guess I'll be writing country songs as long as I live because I have too many country memories.
She kept pushing, and in 1966 the label finally let her go country. Her first 2 singles cracked the top 25.
This dumb blonde ain't nobody's fool.
Dolly Parton was on her way, and we'll soon hear about that time she turned down Elvis. But first, you need to know that around this time, Dolly found a partner to share her journey. Shortly after arriving in Nashville, Dolly met Carl Dean. She was 18.
I was at a wishy-washy laundromat.
Oh, he's hot.
Washing clothes. He just pulled up. I was out walking around waiting for my clothes to wash. And so he pulled up and said something to me, like, you're going to get sunburned out here and all that. And I said something silly back. And so
You've been
2
together
years
ever
later,
since.
we got married.
He was a quiet man who paved roads for a living. While Dolly chased the spotlight, Carl stayed in the background, her rock through every triumph and tragedy. They never had children. Health issues forced Dolly to undergo a hysterectomy, a painful chapter she rarely speaks about. But she became a mother figure to many, especially her goddaughter, Miley Cyrus. Carl passed away in March 2025. After marrying, Dolly's next big career break came from the Porter Wagoner Show in the late 60s. Their duets made her a star, but she was more than a sidekick. She was a powerhouse. In 1974, she wrote a farewell ballad to Porter titled, I Will Always Love You. He was upset and sued her for leaving, but Dolly stood her ground, and later they reconciled. That song went on to have a life of its own. Elvis Presley wanted to record it, but his manager, Colonel Parker, demanded half the publishing rights. Dolly refused. It was one of the hardest and smartest decisions of her life. Years later, Whitney Houston's version made Dolly tens of millions. But more than that, it proved her instincts were golden.
It hurt me because I was so disappointed I was going to have to tell my friends Elvis didn't record it. When Whitney recorded it, I was thinking, oh good, because now I own 100% of the publishing, 100% of the writing, and I did really well with that.
By the late 70s, and with 2 huge hits, Dolly crossed over to pop music and mainstream stardom followed. In 1980, she was featured with Jane Fonda and Lily Tomlin in the smash film 9 to 5. The song, even bigger. It hit #1 on both the pop and country charts.
Working 9 to 5, what a way to make it even steady.
She followed this up with The Best Little Whorehouse in Texas. Dolly had arrived at the pinnacle of entertainment on her terms. Through the 80s and 90s, she kept recording and scoring hits, won awards. In the 2000s, she collaborated with new artists and refused to fade away. In all, Dolly released 49 studio albums, sold more than 100 million records. She's in both the Country and Rock and Roll Hall of Fames. But numbers don't tell the whole story.
I got my work ethic from my dad. I got my music from my mama. I thought, well, they do call this the music business. So why don't I kind of lay a little heavy on the business side of things?
Dolly Parton is one of the savviest businesswomen in music history. She started her own publishing company. It made her rich. She built Dollywood into a top tourist attraction, creating jobs and joy in her hometown. She owns a real estate empire and has a net worth estimated at $675 million. And she did it all with heart. Dolly never forgot where she came from. Her Dollywood Foundation has given millions to causes close to her heart. She's lifted up countless kids through Make-A-Wish. And her Imagination Library has given over 200 million free books to children worldwide.
And if you're fortunate enough to become successful, then you should be willing to give back. And you should get involved in things that you believe in.
Beyond the successes, any discussion of Dolly isn't complete without talking about her signature look. Big hair, tight clothes, bigger personality. Dolly's style has always turned heads, but behind the glam was genius. She used her image to get in the room and her talent to stay there. In a male-dominated industry, Dolly carved out a space no one else could fill.
With some people, especially with me, being overdone and over-exaggerated with the makeup and the hair and the way I dressed, some people might have thought I was dumb, but I would have the deal done and gone before they realized what had happened. So
Dolly Parton's legacy goes far beyond music, movies, and business. She's inspired generations of women to be bold.
She's been so consistently caring and kind and herself that all of us are just trying to fill her crystallized shoes, which is never gonna happen.
That I think about daily is WWDD, and that is what would Dolly do?
She is the only author of her story, and what an incredible story that you have written, Dolly Parton.
Dolly has redefined what success looks like, and she's proved that you can stay kind without being weak. After all the heartbreaks, obstacles, and near misses, Dolly didn't just survive, she soared.